today in Rich in Relationship. We explore how high performance couples often drop the ball in their marriage early in the game. A really high performing partnership means actually being good at listening. It means hearing and connecting with your partner's emotion. It means respecting their perspective even when it's different than yours. You rebuild connection by trading perfectionism for vulnerability. Welcome to another episode of Rich in Relationship. I am your host, Rich Heller, and today we're talking about functional but fragile, why high-performance couples crack first. Everyone says we're the perfect couple, great jobs, great kids, great house, but sometimes I feel like we're quietly falling apart. Why does it feel so fragile when everything looks so good? Great question. There's so much in this question too. Let's define a high-performance couple as defined in the problem that we're addressing today. We're defining performance in terms of functioning in the world. And I would argue that there are two kinds of high-performance couples. There are high-performance couples who are meeting the metrics of what our society tells us is important, and there are high-performance couples who are answering to a different set of metrics. That's probably the best way to put it. And we're going to talk about it more. We live in a society that is driven by economic growth and by performance, how we perform as individuals in terms of economic results. Oh yeah, we've got people who choose to be school teachers, right? You got to wonder, why would somebody choose to be a school teacher when it pays so poorly? They're answering to a different standard of performance than maybe the rest of us, huh? We have people who choose all kinds of jobs that don't make us high performance. They make us something else in the eyes of the world. And so really, we're talking about the standards of the world versus your personal standard, because I would argue that my life has been changed by some high performance teachers who maybe didn't have the biggest house or the best car, or maybe didn't provide for their kids in the way that social media seems to think that they should have. High performance is basically when you have two alphas. You got one partner who is kicking butt and taking names corporately, and another partner who's kicking butts and taking names, maybe entrepreneurial, maybe corporately, right? These are two people who are driven, or maybe you have one partner who's a millionaire or even billionaire provider, and you have another partner who is supporting the foundation for that because of their charitable activity, the social events they attend with them, the connections they help that person make that help them to grow that million into billions or billions into multi-billions or whatever. These are high-performance couples. They're either individually achieving tremendously, or they have different functions in the relationship that are helping them achieve tremendously in terms of worldly goods. Worldly goods are, how much money do you make? Worldly goods are, how do you show it? Now, I am well aware that there are people like the founder of Walmart. The founder of Walmart, I don't even remember his name, but the story I heard is that he lived in a small house and drove a pickup truck. And that's because he had so much money, he didn't even need to flaunt it anymore. A lot of people are wearing the right watch, the right shirt, the right clothes, the right car, the right house, the right partner, because those are all stepping stones to making more. But there comes a point where you're performing so highly, you don't need to show anyone anymore. The question is, from that listener, Erica, we're the perfect couple. Why does it feel fragile? And the truth is that high-performing couples often mistake efficiency and success for relational success. They are joyfully, and rightly so, celebrating their successes, but they're only focusing on a certain area of life. And the successes that they're celebrating are all goal-driven and accomplishment-driven. And the nature of that beast is that when you hit the goal, by the time you get there, you've already set the next one. So you don't even get to celebrate that because you're working for the next one. And it's a destroyer of emotional connectivity, a destroyer of emotional connectivity with yourself, a destroyer of emotional connectivity with one another. High performers run their marriage like a business, goal-oriented, scheduled, productive, but not focused so much on emotional connection. There's great communication about how to get things done, communication about how to reach the goal. But the problem is the goal is missing something. Go back to the spinning plates metaphor. The spinning plate of their marriage is all about supporting one another in success in a limited field, but it is not about being their best selves. And often they are high performers at the expense of the greater good. Oh, they may donate to charity, but what they're giving often doesn't balance out what they're receiving. Oh, they may be developing themselves as moneymakers, as social climbers, but are they developing all of their skills, all of their talents? Are they exploring their full emotional capacity? Because to some extent, to climb rapidly financially and socially, to some extent, not completely true for everyone, but this is speaking generally about this kind of person. There's a hardening of the heart that needs to happen. When we just give money to a charity, but we don't actually see the unseen, we walk by someone who's homeless and we don't see them, we can't look at them. They ask us for money. I won't give them money. He's probably a drug addict. I won't give her money. She's probably going to use it to get a drink. When we live that way, our heart becomes hard. And when your heart is hard, you don't connect with intimacy in your marriage or anywhere else, or rarely. The relationship looks solid from the outside, but it lacks emotional fullness and richness and safety. And the children, even though they're invested in all the right things that their parents have taught them, something's missing for them. They sense that there's a tension, a stress, something's missing. The risk for this kind of couple is appearing together while privately drifting apart. It's a quiet crisis of connection. So let me tell you about Brad and Gwen. Brad and Gwen, they're like my only clients. No, Brad and Gwen are a composite of clients. We don't share your stuff here. Brad and Gwen might have snippets that relate to things our clients have gone through, but Brad and Gwen are not any one of our clients. Confidentiality is key at Rich in Relationship. Brad and Gwen had become that kind of couple. Mad social climbers, making mad money, driving nice cars, going to the right restaurants, partying with the right people. Their kids were going to the right schools, involved in the right activities. And they were a logistical, what's the word I'm looking for? They were logistical superstars when it came to these things. Insanely efficient, well-run machine of a marriage. They had a machine of a marriage. That's the best way to put it. And one day they came here and they said, we function like business partners. And Brad said, you know what? You're right. We're good at everything except us. And Brad admitted that he'd been thinking about stepping out. Gwen had been wondering why he was working all the time. You see, what looked like teamwork was really a machine on autopilot. They didn't fight hardly ever, but they didn't really connect. They only connected to get things done. And like so many high-achieving couples, the hashtag power couple reels that we see, the polished family posts, they were holding it together for the camera while quietly cracking at the seams. And a ton of people come to us this way. Sometimes one person's the achiever, sometimes they're both achievers, but inevitably, they have treated their relationship like a machine instead of an organism. A machine just needs energy in and maintenance. An organism needs emotional attention and care and energy in and maintenance. A machine has a regular maintenance schedule. An organism has a growing, evolving set of habits, traditions, things that help it to thrive and become more. A machine does not, in and of itself, grow. The marriage in and of itself does not grow. Though the productivity of the marriage grows, the marriage itself does not grow. A marriage that's an organism is constantly expanding and widening its influence. We've worked so hard to build this life. There has to be a way to keep our success and get our closeness back. How do we do that? A listener asks. And isn't that exactly what Brad and Gwen came to me for? Great question, Tom. I really appreciate the question. So the goal isn't to give up ambition, right? Ambition is okay. Listen, let's be honest. It's nice to have a nice house. It is fun to drive a nice car. If you're into boats, it's fun to have a boat. If you're into horses, it's fun to ride horses. It isn't that these things are bad. It's that we want to humanize it. We want to bring emotion into it. We want it to be experientially uplifting. We want the experience that we're creating with these things to support the values that we are important. The values that we find important. We want experiences to not just reinforce the values that we find important. We want to communicate those values to our children. We want to communicate those values to the wider society when the values are to uplift the wider society. In fact, many people have argued, and I agree, that when we have more financial influence, we can drive greater change or have greater opportunity for change. So it's not the ambition that's bad. It's the focus. We want to humanize it. We want to focus on emotional wealth. Emotional wealth is when you walk down the street and that homeless person, who probably is a drug addict or an alcoholic, reaches out to you and you go, "Oh my God, I hurt for you, brother. I hurt for you, sister. I don't know what you're going to do with this money. I hope you're going to get something to eat, but I hurt for you." Sometimes for the unseen, being seen is more important than what you give. Sometimes it's just walking down the street and saying, "Oh, hey, how are you?" Or maybe you bump into someone who's homeless and you just say, "Hey, excuse me, I didn't mean to bump into you." They are so moved just by the acknowledgement because they're used to being set aside. They're used to being pushed aside. They're used to being shuffled aside. If you want to move in this direction, you need to take that machine, that huge effort you've made to keep that machine going, and work on building emotional connection. You got to slow your life down enough to feel, not just function. I was on a call with a friend of mine today, and he said that he takes recess every day for a certain period of time. Doesn't matter how long it is. And during recess, he gives himself the freedom to connect with his partner, connect with his kids and his partner, or to just do something fun or even take a nap, which if you are a high-performing couple sounds alien. But you need to carve out some space just for connection, whatever that looks like for you. You need to take the opportunity to slow down enough to feel, not just function. You rebuild connection by trading perfectionism for vulnerability. I would argue for caring communication that makes it feel safe and builds trust and eventually vulnerability, because it doesn't happen like that. A really high-performing partnership means actually being good at listening. It means hearing and connecting with your partner's emotion. It means respecting their perspective even when it's different than yours. It means understanding where it is they want to go to. It means equal time. So when Brad and Gwen came to us with this problem, they were not in crisis. They had solid income. They were maxed out emotionally. We're great at everything, Gwen said, except showing up for each other. We're great at showing up for work. We're great at showing up for the kids. We're great at showing up for social life. We're not showing up for each other. They learned that their relationship was suffering from functional fragility, from too much doing and not enough being, right? How we're being impacts the flavor of what we're doing. Together, we help them to rebuild around 3 principles. You ready? Shared rest, creating protected downtime, no work, no screens, no multitasking, where they could just be with each other. Here's a challenging one, right? sometimes you got to do some downloading to get here. Emotional transparency. They learned how to express their emotions, even if they weren't super positive. Even if they made Brad look weak relative to how he had to show up at work in order to accomplish, they were emotionally transparent. Let me be clear about it. They could say, I feel overwhelmed. Or they could say, I'm scared. I'm hurt. I feel alone. And they worked on purposeful partnership through those two things. They aligned their vision for their family, the legacy, not the financial legacy, but what they want that financial legacy to create for their family. They aligned their vision for who they hope their children were going to be in the world. Not what their children were going to do, but who they hoped they were going to be. They threw out they used their to-do list, but they took their to-do list and applied it to quality as well as quantity. Balance. They began scheduling time not for errands, but for experiences. They had a Sunday hike. They had coffee dates. They volunteered as a family. On Thanksgiving Day, they went to a soup kitchen as a family. And then when they went home and had their turkey, they were for the first time grateful. They were grateful not just that they had food on the table, but they had each other, because what they saw at that soup kitchen was how alone those folks were who were coming in off the street. Brad said, we don't need to change our life. We just need to live it together. That was a big turnaround for him. And Gwen said, it felt strange at first, like we had to learn how to enjoy each other again. But they did learn how to enjoy each other again. If you're a high-performance couple, or even if one of you is high-performing and you have some doubts about what's going on with them, that you won't break because you're weak. You crack. You become so brittle. Your heart becomes so brittle. You crack on the outside because you don't know how to rest in your success and savor what you have. When we're always striving for more, we don't take time to savor what we have, like Brad, Gwen, and their family did when they went to that soup kitchen. If your relationship looks strong but it feels fragile, reach out to us. Go to our free relationship group, The Bridge, on our website, richinrelationship.com. You'll get some tools there to help you start sharing. You'll get tools there to help you figure out what stage of life your relationship is and what stage of the relationship life the relationship is in. They're different things. There's the life of the relationship, and there are the stages of life that your relationship evolves and grows in. You'll get tools for communication, and if you want, you can schedule a call with me. And in the meantime, look forward to the next episode of Rich in Relationship, which is all about when you become an empty nester and you suddenly look at each other and go, why are we together? It's what they call gray divorce. The episode is called When the Kids Leave, So Does the Marriage, Preventing the Post-Success Collapse. Have an amazing day and an awesome tomorrow. And thank you for listening.